Hey, I thought I'd do another Nightmare on Elm Street remake update. Okay, a lot of people on YouTube are starting to piss me really off. They're starting to say a lot of wrong things because they have no idea of the backstory of Freddy Krueger. They have no idea of Wes Craven's concept. They call themselves true Nightmare on Elm Street fans, even though they have no idea of the backstory of Freddy Krueger. They spread lies all over YouTube, making people into mindless morons. Well, guess what, everybody? I'm on here telling you the real story behind A Nightmare on Elm Street. That's right. Apparently, a lot of people missed the interviews with Wes Craven revealing what that actual character was. And, of course, this is my Nightmare on Elm Street remake update. And I will be revealing who he is, and it will contain spoilers. Now, a lot of people are spreading a lot of lies on YouTube saying that Freddy Krueger is just a child killer and not a child molester. Even though that Freddy Krueger is a child molester, and it was documented by Wes Craven in a interview under the making of A Nightmare on Elm Street. And I will have the link to it in the bottom bar so you can click on it, and Wes Craven describes what his intentions were for Freddy Krueger. Now, a lot of people are going to say, well, there's no dialogue in the film that actually says he's a child molester. Of course there isn't. New Line Cinema wouldn't let Wes Craven put that in the film, so they changed it to child murderer. Of course, child molester is implied in the movie if you actually pay attention to the film. There's a part where he says, "I'm your boyfriend now, Nancy," that points to him being a child molester. In Freddy vs. Jason, he licks pictures of little kids. And in Freddy's Dead, he becomes a child molesting father. So yeah, Freddy Krueger is a freaking child molester. A lot of people don't want to admit it because they find it disturbing. And they're trying to hide the fact that he is a child molester. In the remake, they actually shed light on it and point out that he is a child molester. And suddenly, everybody on YouTube becomes mindless drones and have no understanding of the backstory of A Nightmare on Elm Street. It seems like today's generation actually forgot about the generation before, and they just think it's a totally new concept. Even reviewers on IGN are really stupid. They're actually saying that Michael Bay came up with the concept of Freddy Krueger molesting kids for a new backstory, even though it was documented by Wes Craven himself that Freddy Krueger was a child molester. Now I will play the video that will show you that he is a child molester, shall we?
He was a filthy child murderer who killed at least 20 kids in the neighborhood.
The worst crime imaginable to me is to harm a child. The fact that he was a child murderer and a child molester was just about the most loathsome creature I could imagine on the level of what he did. The big problem was, how do you fight somebody like that? It became a matter of having a central character, Nancy, that dared to go into the nightmares, go into his territory. That's when I started poking around lucid dreaming and that concept that you can go into a dream and be awake. And I just invented this little conceit that if you were holding something when you woke up, it would come with you back into your reality.
I brought something out from...
Funny thing was, Wes Craven had to do 23 rewrites of Nightmare on Elm Street because it actually mentioned that Freddy Krueger was a child molester when when Nancy's mom talked to Nancy. They actually mentioned he was a child molester, but he had to rewrite it so he wasn't. But it is implied in the movie, of course, and Wes Craven himself says he is a child molester. So guess what, everybody out there who's saying oh my god, he's a child molester in the remake. Oh, I didn't see that happening. A freaking child murderer suddenly is a child molester, and it's such a crime. It's funny how people find a child molester being more disturbing than a child killer, and they actually try to hide the fact that Freddy Krueger is a child molester. And this interview, of course, just proves that Freddy Krueger is a child molester / killer. And if you do not want to say that he is, then you're a moron. Thank you very much. I will have the link down in the bottom. You can click on it. I actually told a lot of my subscribers this because I was checking out their reviews and I was like, what the hell is wrong with these people? You know, seriously, do these people, did they even see this documentary? Do people know about this? I think a lot of people don't know about this. I think 50% of the people on YouTube have no idea that Freddy Krueger is a child molester. They just think he's a child murderer. But Freddy Krueger is a child molester. He is a sick, evil person. Okay? He's like a demon. Everything he does is wrong. And yes, he is a child molester. And they shed light on it in the remake. In the remake, spoiler alert, okay. In the remake, the kids are getting, like, you know, cut by Freddy Krueger because he's, like, molesting them with, like, his claws and stuff, and he's, like, cutting, you know, their backs up and shit. You know that? Wes Craven wanted to do that shit in the first movie, but they wouldn't let him do it because of the ratings board. Nobody was able to say, you know, all this. And, you know, even if Wes Craven wanted to do that backstory back in 1984, New Line Cinema wouldn't allow him to do it. Okay? There's a lot of things you're not allowed to say back in 1984. So Wes Craven, being the smart man that he is, made it implied that he was a child molester. Now, what separates Freddy Krueger from Jason Voorhees and Michael Myers is the fact that he is a child molester. So there you go, Freddy Krueger is a child molester. And if you don't want to admit it, then you're an idiot. Anyways, everybody, I hope you enjoyed this update, and I hope you learned a lot.